Hey everybody, what's going on? Welcome to NY Giants Rush. I'm your host for tonight, Chris Rosa. So welcome aboard. Craig has a anniversary, so happy anniversary to him and his wife. So it's going to be myself, it's going to be Shawnee, it's going to be the truth. We got a bunch of things to cover that's happened over the course of the last week. Hey, Chris, peace. Thanks for joining in and jumping in tonight. We appreciate it. And so yeah, we got a bunch of things we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about the schedule. We're going to talk about a little bit of the roster, the uniforms, get everybody's thoughts on that. And before you know it, hey, they're going through the third phase of OTAs right now. And before we know it, it's going to be mini camp the beginning of June. So everybody will be showing up for that mandatory mini camp. And that's where things really start to heat up. So, hey, Jay, thanks for jumping in. So let's bring the guys in. Let's bring the truth. Truth, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. What's
What's
going
up,
on?
Nails?
Nails. Oh,
I love
man.
when Craig calls you Nails.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it, but I'll take it. I hate it. But that's it's all good. All good. So, truth, what's going on with you? What you're feeling? Real quick, we're moving right along. Right before you know it, we're going to be in training camp.
I know it's going fast. Right after the draft, it just seemed to have been flying. This month has gone by real quick
It
since
really
the
has.
draft.
It is flying. Hey, welcome, Milan Fan Club, San Diego. Awesome, man. Thanks for jumping in. Jay Ferry's Carb Crush. You got it, man. That sounds good to me. Let's bring the other big guy in. This is we call him the Joker, but it should be Big Shawnee. Let's bring in Shawnee. Shawnee, what's going on? Shawnee was showing the guns yesterday.
Yeah, it was warm weather here in Florida, so you got to go out, you got to show them off, right? Sun's
Yeah,
out, guns out.
that's right. You're hiding under the tropical shirt tonight. Do you just get back from the tiki bar?
Yeah, man, I got to have some fun, got to live it up down here, living the
Oh,
dream, living the
good for
dream.
you, man. I wish I was there. And I know a couple weeks ago I was down there. We didn't get a chance to hook up. We were a little far away, but next time for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm working. I'll figure out a way to come up for a game this season too.
Yep,
So
Truth and I were just talking about that, trying to work out some logistics. I hope, Sean, you can get up for a game. We can all get together. That'd be awesome.
yeah, I'm gonna figure out. I'm gonna make it work.
All right, cool, man. We're gonna hold you to it for sure. We'll have to definitely pick some dates. But
Yeah.
so let's get rolling, guys. I mean, a lot of things are happening. I know, since last Monday, a lot of things have transpired. I guess we'll start it off with the schedule. Not so much to go into the win loss, because
Yeah,
things change, and they do as the season moves along. Things change with teams, injuries, and whatnot. And teams you thought were going to be good weren't. But let's just look at the schedule in general, the times and the primetime games. I mean, what's your thoughts about the schedule when it came out?
I'm just glad Dallas not week one. I mean, that's all I'm really happy about. As long as we didn't play Dallas week one, we are good.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same way. How about you, Truth?
yeah. It's ironic. It's we don't play Dallas till game four. I thought the same thing, Shawnee, when I saw that no Dallas uh, first game of the year. But I do see a little stretch in there that I know the rosters aren't set yet, but I see a little stretch there between games 3 and 8 that looks like it's going to be a little bit of a test for them
Yep.
and to see what they're made of. So it's going to be a fun year.
Yeah. I mean, I always have a saying, we got to get to October with at least being close to 500 before the leaves fall off the trees in the Northeast, and then you're calling it quits. So, but
Yeah.
I'm with you guys. I actually, when I look at the schedule, and I don't do the win-loss thing, but I look at those first few games and tell me if you guys agree, and everybody watching the show. I almost feel like you got to be 2-1 after Minnesota and getting going to Washington, Cleveland, coming back to play Dallas, right? You got to have that one game pad. You don't want to be 1-3 after that Dallas game. And I think, right, guys? I mean, you think you got to come back home on the 26th being 2-1, looking for that split with Washington and Cleveland. That's if you beat Minnesota, obviously.
I
Yeah.
agree. Yep.
Yep, I agree. And that 3-3 stretch, weeks 3-8, like there's a couple ones in there that I know everybody's saying, it's a tough stretch, but there's a couple ones in there I view a little differently than I think most people in that stretch. Like Pittsburgh is a wild card, right? Like you don't know what Russell Wilson's going to be. I mean, their defense is really good, but offensively, you don't know if it's Wilson's Fields, if Wilson's starting, you don't know what he has left, what he's going to be there, right?
Yeah.
Seattle to me is another one that's it's a winnable game in that stretch as well, right? Like we've played him tough the last few years, so anything's possible. And
Right.
Gino's been on the decline.
Coaching staff, right? Sean Carroll's out. New coaching staff.
Yeah, so there's wild cards. So I mean, that's the thing. You got to look at kind of what's there. And again, it is a tougher stretch, no doubt about it. But there's a couple teams in there that I think we're overvaluing, initially. in my
I
opinion.
think Shawnee, with Pittsburgh, by week 8, we'll know where Russell Wilson is by week 8. So
Yeah.
you're right. You're right. They could be onto Fields by then, but that'll be enough time to know where they stand.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's interesting with Pittsburgh is they both have 1-year deals, and that's you almost feel like they'll play the hot hand, and if the guy, if one of them gets a little cold, the other one's coming right back in. So
Yeah.
definitely going to be interesting. But as you know, with Pittsburgh, they're going to end up, with a 500. Well, you can't go 500, but they'll probably end up, 10-7. That's just what they do.
Yeah. And then those last 4 games too, like you look at that stretch, I mean, the schedule's not too different from what it has been in years past
Right.
when you really look at it, right? Like I know people look at strength of schedule and all that, but if you just look at the teams and the type of teams, it's really not, in my opinion, it's not that much different than what they've had the last couple of years, especially that last 4, Atlanta, Indy. And we know, they beat Philly last year with Tyrod, at the end of the year, that last game. So anything's possible in there.
For sure, and a lot of 1:00 games, which happens to teams that aren't very good the year before. So it's good to have a lot of 1:00 games. And real quick, hey, I know Scott just jumped in, Giant Fan 93. Thanks, Scott, Bill, Chris Peace. And I got to put this up, Milan Fan Club. Wow, we are just getting some donations every week. So, hey, Milan Fan Club,
appreciate you.
$9.99. Wow, that's awesome. The little I can give, that's fantastic. $1.99 helps keep the show rolling. So yeah,
You're showing some pipes over there. Look at that. You're showing some pipes.
Absolutely.
I got to keep up with Chris over here with nails, right?
No doubt it. Like I said earlier, set your goals higher, Sean.
He's got the Brett Favre look going over there.
Oh man. What do you call it? All right. So anything else with the schedule? It's really, once again, do you guys like doing the win-loss game, or those of you out there, you kind of stay away from the win-loss every week when it comes out?
I think it's too early to do that. The rosters haven't even been set yet.
Right.
I mean, it's hard to tell.
Yeah. Yeah. I did it a couple of years ago. I did it for Daboll's first season. I didn't do it last year. Right. And I actually did predict the win total for 2022. I didn't get every game right, but I got the win total correct.
Kidding.
Yeah,
did you get him for Tennessee? Did you pick the Tennessee game for?
I don't remember. But it's actually I was on another podcast and it's on video, but I don't think I did. But there was a couple other ones I don't remember. But like I said, I know I got the win total correct. I just didn't get who they were beating every time.
That's impressive, Sean. Year 1 coach, and you nailed it. Fantastic.
Well, the thing I was looking at is that a coach can get you, just a new coach can get you 3 or 4 wins in there, right? And looking at who you're going at. So it just, everybody looks at strength of schedule. But again, like I said, strength of schedule doesn't mean anything because those teams aren't the same teams from the year prior. You don't know what they're going to do. So and to me, you just can't flip out when you see it's the toughest strength of schedule, right? Like, I don't know. We'll see. They may prove me wrong. They may suck this year and do crappy, but like I said, I think there's more wins in there that people are than realizing. But it's going to come down. We know what it's going to come down to. So
I agree, Sean and Mike. The way the rosters turn over every year, 30% or 35%, you just can't. You got to just throw last year out the window because there's always those 2 teams or so that come out of nowhere that make the playoffs or make a run, and there's always a couple duds that you thought were going to be in the heat of it. So yeah, I agree with you guys.
Yep.
So moving right along. Let's go. Before we hit the roster, and we'll hit on that. Just to go in order here, we saw the uniform. So let's punch that up. Let's get the opinion of you guys, and I know there's been a lot of talk on it. What's your feeling on the 100th season coming up for the Giants and the Century Red uniforms? Go ahead, Truth. What do you think?
Well, it's great that it's the 100th season New York Giants, and but I did comment on Twitter. It is what it is. A lot of people, and it's their right to give their opinion, make a big deal about it. It is what it is. That's what their uniforms kind of looked like back then. So I'm going with it. I don't care if the pants are white. I really don't care. It's what the look was. So,
how about you, Sean? What's your feeling on the uniform?
I mean, I'm the same. Man. Let's be realistic. They're going to wear them for maybe 2 games at most.
You got it.
They're honoring. It's 100 years. Like, what did people expect, right? Like, you look at the Bumblebee uniforms from the Steelers. How ugly were those? You look at the Packers uniforms. There's a lot of ugly uniforms. Yeah. So I think it's just a combination of people are just tired of everything right now. They're fed up and they're just going to play by anything. I've always been a big history guy, right? Tradition, history, and they're honoring that. So I got no problem. I mean, gold pants. I put this out there. A couple of my buddies online, like I wore gold pants in college, so I got no problem with gold pants, right? Like
And back in the 30s, that's what they wore.
right? Yeah. I mean,
They
I
went
didn't play in the 30s, Chris, but
Yeah, I know. Well, you know what, Sean? That's my point with this. Now, the patch I love because they
yeah,
try to incorporate everything, from the Polo Grounds to Giant Stadium, the way the logo is. My thought is with the uniforms. I get it. They're taking it from the 30s, and that's what they wore. However, this is the 100th season of Giants. So what I've liked, this wasn't the 1930s uniform was supposed to be. So what I think, my opinion, what they maybe should have done, is taken the helmet, put one side NY, the other side Giants, keep the ugly rugby shirt that they wore in the 30s, and then
Yeah.
throw back the white pants everybody loves, and then maybe even down the center of the helmet, do the red, white, and blue like they wore in the early 80s. But maybe incorporate not just the 30s, but carry over some 80s stuff to that uniform. And that's my only thought. Not keep it all in the 30s, bring some of that 80s to it as well.
well, the Giants, like they're gonna go because it's 100 years. They're gonna go back to they had the 1925, the 33. I mean, you knew it was gonna happen. I know people I like the helmet. I think it's sharp. I think it's cool. It's kind of like the Wolverines. It's just something different. And again, it's for 2 games. Like we know we need new uniforms, right? Like we get it. If you want to bring the legacy, back as full time, that's fine. But I'll say this: when you watch the uniform reveal in the video as opposed to the pictures, it looks a lot better than it does in the pictures.
Yeah.
So if you haven't watched the videos, watch the videos, guys.
And you know what's going to happen, fellas? If the Giants were to win those 2 games, everybody's going to be calling to keep those uniforms on. We're just, we're going to be superstitious about it. So if they were to win 2 games with that, keep them, don't change them,
And the funny thing to me is people were calling, they wanted a modern take on the old, you can't, it's honoring the history. You can't put a modern look on a historic uniform for 2 games, right? Let's be realistic.
Yep, exactly. Hey, Daniel Berry, Sports Highlights, thanks for jumping in. Bill Hartnett, thanks, man. And Jay Ferries makes a great point. When you go to the website and you see the 100th season merchandise, oh my God, did you see the prices of these things? Even the sweatshirts are like $150. Really?
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah. So
what would have been real controversy? They play with no face mask.
Now that's really bringing it back, right? Could you imagine?
That's what you grew up watching, right? Truth, when they had no face masks.
Yeah, I play without face mask.
I'll let that one go. I won't say nothing.
That's funny. But all right, so yeah, that's really it with the uniforms. I mean, it's only, like Sean said, everybody, it's only 2 games, not a big deal. It's not like they're playing 7, 8 games with it on. And who knows? Maybe it brings them a little good luck and they win those 2 games, and then everybody say, "Don't change them."
Yeah,
well,
right.
Yeah. The last thing I'm saying that too is the players are excited about them, right? They were genuinely excited about these uniforms. They're not faking that. So if the players like them, that's all that matters. I'll go with that, right? If they're excited to wear them, that's what matters to me.
Yeah. And who knows if it's a bright sunny day and the sun's shining off that helmet and the uniforms are a little wacky looking, but it might look great on a beautiful fall day or, early fall day. So
exactly.
So, all right. So we'll put the uniforms to rest. Let's go move on to the Hard Knocks. Cause that came out of nowhere. And you know what, Sean, I didn't even hear a peep about Hard Knocks off season. I didn't even know that existed or was going to be premiering. How about you? Did you hear any inkling of anything? They kept it quiet.
Yeah, they did. And I love it. I put this out on Twitter too. It's nice to actually have a front office that keeps things in house right now, right? With everything. So no, I heard no peep. I'm excited. I mean, listen, we get it. People are going to complain because you're not going to see you're not going to ever see behind the curtain with everything, right? But I think this offseason, you're going to learn some of the process. You're going to learn some things. We know Mara and the Giants are all about not making themselves look bad, which is why they never wanted to do Hard Knocks in the first place. So the fact we're getting an off season, I think is cool. We get a little insight. Fans get to see some things, but let's be realistic. We're not going to see everything and anything, and we shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to obviously Barkley and Wink, that stuff won't be aired as much as we'd love to see.
Yeah, I'd love to see that. I want to see the Wink Dable interaction go on. That's
That'll be the uncut version, right? You have to pay extra for that.
Right.
I'm curious if they'll show anything about the draft too. If all the rumors, what we heard about the draft, will they show any of that? You know.
like in the war room and what they're
Yeah.
discussing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be interesting. How about you, Truth? I mean, did you obviously this came out of nowhere. Do you like the
No clue.
off-season Hard Knocks?
I
Yeah.
had
Do you
no clue, and like you guys, I never thought the Giants would ever do Hard Knocks. But I guess because it's the 100th season, it kind of makes sense to do this. So um, I'm looking forward to see how it's taken by the fans and perceived, and what they're going to show. I'm sure Mara's going to have his hands on everything and limit it.
Yeah.
You know?
And that premieres July 2nd, which is, pretty good because that'll carry over right to training camp, get us all ready and pumped up. And I believe it starts from the Senior Bowl.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, from the Senior Bowl, and because was it not Kafka? Was it Kafka or was it?
Well, yeah, one of them was at it was
Tierney.
Tierney was at the Tierney was at the Senior Bowl. Kafka was at the Shrine Bowl.
Right. Kafka was the head coach. Tierney was offensive coordinator. Senior
Yep.
Bowl. Got it.
Yep.
So yeah, we'll see some Tierney stuff, which will be interesting.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, Sean. Tierney goes back with Dable way back to his Alabama days because you almost got the feeling at some point he may be the next offensive coordinator, right, guys? Is that what you would think if Dable?
He may be a name, yeah, because Kafka's going to leave. Like he's on that fast track, like which was news. I don't know if you guys saw, like real quick. Like I didn't know Kafka was part of the minority program, so he's on the fast track to become a head coach. So he's going to leave at some point. That all these interviews he's gotten. So they may make Tierney OC, but I've said this and I'll just say it real quick again. I think Dable's got to call the plays, but I think if Kafka does leave, I think they'll probably name Tierney OC, but kind of like Shula was OC, back before and just under Shermer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And we're moving pretty fast here. So just going off of what you just said, Sean, with Dable and Truth, with Dable calling plays. In your heart of hearts, do you both believe that's probably what's going to happen? Is right out of the gate we're going to see Dable calling plays?
Go ahead.
I think so. I think so. Yeah, I think it's due. Oh, I think it's overdue, actually, with him.
How about? Yeah, I think so. How about you, Sean? Do you feel like that's the case?
I do. I mean, when they interviewed him during the owners meetings there in Orlando, and he was talking about all the research he did of how many coaches were calling plays offensively and defensively as head coaches. So he's putting it in, and I think it was Dunleavy was on our show that said this. Like everybody that knows Daboll knows he's not going to go down and let somebody else be the reason why he gets fired, right? Like He's going to take it over. And again, he got hired because of how he ran a play call. I think it's a great combination if Kafka is helping designing the plays, because I think he's really good at that. And Daboll is a better play caller, got a better feel for the game. I mean, he was the OC at Bama when they won the national title. He did what he did at Buffalo, right? So he needs to call it. Again, I'm going to keep saying that. I've said it for a while, but he does need to call it. So I can't see it not happening. I'd be shocked.
I'm 100% in agreement with both of you guys. I feel like he's taking a page right out of Bill Parcells' book. If he's going to go down, he's going to do it his way, right? Yeah. And, he extended the olive branch to Kafka by making him the assistant head coach, which looks good on his resume. But like you said, Sean, Kafka was with Andy Reid going back to Philly as a quarterback in the quarterback room. So you got to think, man, he can have some nice designs and wants to do things. We get angry with Kafka. He doesn't do this, do that. But I like to think a lot of times his hands are just tied because the offense just isn't working and it's broken on the line. So you'd really like to see with all the pieces in place, and he has the ability to do that and design plays, right? I mean, then we could be, really, celebrating Kafka. What a great job he's doing. But we haven't really seen that.
Yeah, I think he's a great play designer. He's an extremely intelligent man. But to me, again, he just doesn't have a feel of the game. Now, if he stays as play caller, I want to see him down on the field. Like I know people say you get a better view, all that. I get it. I've been there. I've done that. And I've been at programs where the OC has done both. He's been up in the stands. He's been down on the field. And for guys that don't have a feel of the game and what's going on, being down on the field makes more sense, right? Sure. So they get it. Plus he's right there with Daboll talking to him. So if worst case scenario is calling plays, I want to see him down the field. But bottom line, I definitely want Daboll calling plays.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it is going to be Daboll. But you make an interesting point, Sean, and Truth, jump in too. Do you think if Dable is calling plays, does Kafka come down to the field, or do you think he still stays up in the box? What do you think, Truth?
Well, he stays. Usually, he's up in the press box, so it would be rare to see him come down. And it's not out of the realm of possibility, though.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps, but I if I had a bet, I would think he'd stay up in the box.
Yeah. How about you, Sean?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is he'd probably stay in the box. He just seems like he's that type, right? But again, I want him down on the sideline if he's calling plays. I don't want him calling plays, right? And it's nothing against him, right? But he's such. I mean, he went to Northwestern, right? Like he's a really smart guy. He's been, like you said, he's been around Andy Reid, so he can design those, the red zone plays, all of that. I just don't think he knows when to call them. It's almost like he's very robotic with play calling, is what I've seen. That's my take.
Yeah, like Dable just has a feel for the game. You feel like that because we did see games last year, specifically the Arizona game, second half. You just got a different feel for it. You just felt like it was different. So it was the same offensive line in the second half and the same Daniel Jones, but things were just happening differently. So I'm with you. I feel like Dable does have a good feel for the game, and maybe Kafka, bigger role in designing the game plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think in Kafka's defense, he's coming from KC where they could run anything and everything. They didn't have to run repeated plays all the time. Like here, if you see something's working, you got to go back to it. You got to utilize it. You got to take what the defense gives you. And I think he's just running plays because he knows all the plays he has can work, as opposed to seeing what the defense is giving you. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Same with you, Truth. You feel the same way, right? That's probably the case. Well, it's going to be interesting to see if the media, if we get that out of Dable, or if he goes into week one still undecided, because you would think there would be some announcement on his end that I'll be calling the plays. He hasn't said that yet, but you would hope at some point, to give the fans some clarity that it is, hey, it's me, I'm calling the plays. Like, don't look at us like we're stupid. We're all going to know that he's calling the plays.
We'll figure it out.
Give some transparency with the play calling, and just let the fans know if that's going to be the case. So at some point.
Yeah. Hey, Chris, put up Bill's comment there at 8:24 there. He just put up about the clock management. Do you see that?
I don't think either has a good perception. Oh, here we go. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good one to kind of talk about, I think. And it's a great point. I think also some of that comes down to, because we don't know what they will do clock management wise, right? But also some of it comes down to the quarterback. Like, with the carousel of quarterbacks last year, I don't think they had good clock management. We saw it from Tyrod in the Buffalo game. So we can't put all of it, right? And there's only so many timeouts you have. So you can't always rely on the timeouts coming in and utilizing that. So I do think that the quarterback position has to step up and be better with clock management as well.
Yeah. And you would hope if that play calling duties are removed from Kafka, that his job would be making sure that clock management would be part of his job, helping Dable out. So, that is going to be interesting. But, it's funny, that first year with Dable, you thought he had very good clock management. He had very good utilizing his timeouts. We thought was pretty good. But then last year, we look at the Jet game and some of these other games, it was out of whack. It wasn't the same. So, it was like a tale of two, it was a tale of two stories there between both years. But
yeah, I think, and again, all those injuries and the different quarterbacks coming in, it's hard to get again, if you don't have a feel of what's going on with, backup personnel, I mean, that's gonna hurt clock management there as well. So again, I would like to see that improve, but I do put a good amount of that on the quarterbacks as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, good point, Bill. And Mels, thanks for jumping in the show. Appreciate you stopping by. And so thanks, Mels. If this is your first time checking NY Giants Rush out, appreciate that. And moving right along, we're moving pretty quick here, so we're going to have definitely some extra time. But moving on to let's take a look at the rosters. Roster outlook I put down, and some dark horses. I know it's early, but do either one of you guys, and let's start out with you, Sean. Do you have any guys in the back of your mind that you're looking at the back end of the roster, or looking at the depth, where maybe they're not like they're kind of at that third spot, but have a shot to really show something? Anybody that's caught your eye? I know they haven't played yet or practiced really, but anybody you have your eye on?
I'm going to pick a couple of the new guys. I'm going to pick the line, two, one O-line and one D-line. Marcellus Johnson, 6'4", 313 out of Missouri. Again, I coaches used to say you can't coach size. So there's a guy that he's got the size, he's there, he's hungry. So there's kind of a dark horse there. And then the one I really like, and I know they just recently signed him, is Chapman, the D lineman out of SMU. I think he's gonna make that roster, and he's gonna contribute and do some things. I think he was undrafted because of his size. Like he's really undersized, but when you look at the speed, 4.8, 40, some of the other measurables he has, and the motor he has, I think that's a name to remember. Is Chapman.
Good point on Chapman, because he was just an invite at rookie minicamp. He didn't even have an offer yet. So the fact that he comes in and actually earns a contract to come to training camp, that's pretty impressive. So
and if you impress Patterson, then you've done something right? We know what Patterson can do with D linemen. So again, I'm going to keep saying it. Keep an eye on that guy. That's a name to remember.
Yeah. How big is he, Shawnee? What's the size?
I don't remember his weight, but he's 6 foot. And he's good size weight wise, but he's 6 foot. All right.
Yeah.
So, but again, he runs a 4.8 40, and that's pretty good. He's not I'm not comparing him to this person, but he could be like an Aaron Donald, like not the greatness, not a Hall of Famer like Aaron Donald, but his qualities, his things like that remind you of an Aaron Donald type is what I'm saying. So just to be clear, I'm not saying he's going to be the next Aaron Donald. He's got Aaron Donald type qualities. Because Aaron Donald was undersized, right?
And that was the knock on him.
Yeah.
Coming out of Pittsburgh, yeah. And Sean, good point. He's 6'1", 295. Scouting report: instinctive, stout at the line of attack, anchors down well. One of the strongest players at 495 bench. Upper body strength, can shed blockers. Low wide base, holds up well. Run stopper, locates the ball carrier. So all good stuff. And we need deep depth on the inside. So. I like that one. And getting back to Marcellus, Sean, did he command one of the biggest signing bonuses to be signed by the Giants? Was that him?
No, that was the other guy. That was the Kubis out of North Dakota State. So that's the guy. I don't consider him a dark horse because they paid him what they paid him, and I think he's going to make the roster. But no, that was Kubis that got that signing, which is a guy that another name to keep an eye out for. He's going to be that gritty, dirty kind of type of player, not dirty like you know what I mean, in the trenches, getting dirty, going after that nasty, kind of almost like Nick Gates was, right? I think he's going to be the Nick Gates type.
And Sean, when you look at that tackle position, you have a Yodny Kajust, who used to be with the Jets, and I think was also with Pittsburgh. So you have some opportunities there for these guys for some depth pieces at tackle. And I think they picked up, was it Nelson from Detroit as a free agent?
Yeah, it's one of the swing tackles.
The other guy too, Mayfield. Did they pick him up too?
You got it, from San Francisco. Yeah, they have him listed as a guard, so I'm not sure. Maybe does he play tackle as well? Truth.
Mayfield.
Yeah,
they have him listed here on my sheet what is it? Outlands.
Our lads. Yeah, I got him as a guard. Okay, so maybe it's maybe he could do both. He might be a little bit of a swing tackle then, but and that's what Brazil likes to do. But have these guys play a few positions and able to move around. Truth. How about you? Anybody? Actually, Sean. Anybody else? You going to go with Chapman as your guy?
Yeah. Chapman and Marcellus Johnson, my two dark horses.
Marcellus Johnson. Yep.
Okay. Well,
you?
Okay. Let me start on the offensive side. There's a kid who I liked from last year. They got him in UDFA, Ford Wheaton Bryce. And I like this kid, size, speed, needs to be better with his hands. Obviously, that's why he didn't get drafted, but he has all the athleticism that you like. I'm just curious to see what happens with this wide receiver group, because we don't know what's happening with Darius Slayton yet, right? We don't know. Would they trade him? Would they throughout the season? I don't think they'll do it before camp. But I like that kid. This kid, yes, he would be a very big dark horse to make this wide receivers, because they're going to keep about 7 guys, you think, on the wide receivers?
Yeah.
Probably.
It's quite a
so
bit.
He is an extreme dark horse there. But I like his game. And worst scenario, he goes on the practice squad if he gets through waivers.
Mm-hmm.
Another kid I like And I was looking along the offensive line, and Sean kind of took my thunder with Kubis, the kid out of what is he out South Dakota or North Dakota? What was
North Dakota State.
North Dakota State, yeah. And I like your analogy of him, Shawnee. Like and I think I mentioned that he looks like the kind of guy doesn't bathe. He's dirty looking. I like guys like that to play the line. I like guys who look like they stink. But there's a guy, like I said, you keep an eye on him. I don't know if he'll make it because it's going to be tough in that guard position. I'm looking at all the guys here, but worst scenario, put him in a practice squad and just keep developing him. Defense, I have two guys. I have this kid, Alex Johnson, out of UCLA. He got picked up UDF, right? UDFA. And he had 5 interceptions, I think, or 5 I can't remember, 5 or 4 in college last year. And he's kind of a ball hawk. So I don't know if he's a special teamer. Can he play special teams? But if he can, I would certainly help him have a shot. And we talked about this guy last week with Shawnee. I had concerns about the edge, about guys on the edge. And Boogie Basham. Now, he's had a disappointing NFL career. He was good at Wake Forest. And perhaps we were talking about the new defensive coordinator, Bowen, might see something in this kid. I think they need more depth at that defensive end, at the edge. They need more guys who can pass rush, not just 3 guys. So hopefully this kid could be that guy because he does have pass rushing ability. So there's my
to that point too, I'll say a couple things there. We know that Wink was not good at developing edge rushers or DNs, right? So Basham didn't really benefit from that. Bowen has shown a history of developing guys, right? The other guy that people forget about, and if you remember, Lawrence Taylor spoke very highly of this guy, but keep an eye out for Timon Fox, right? Not that he's going to make the roster, but keep an eye on him from making an impact off the edge. Again, I think it's a guy that Bowen's going to like, where Wink, I don't think liked him because, again, Wink was whatever he was with his edges. So that's a guy that, that's a good point. You bring up the edge, the worrying concern there. Timon Fox is a guy a lot of Giants fans are forgetting.
Yeah. I remember when he came up and LT gave him a big endorsement. I mean, LT gives you an endorsement. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, because he don't give many.
No, he doesn't. Tudo.
Wow, Tudo. Thank you so much. I mean, this isn't the first time. Tudo, $4.99 donating to NY Giants Rush. Thanks so much, Tudo. We always appreciate your loyalty to the show and stopping in and the $4.99. Awesome. Wow. Thank you. Appreciate it. And Sarah is one of the regulars going back a long time. So thanks, Sarah, for popping on tonight with us. And it's funny. I got to bring this up, guys. Just moving right along just talking about the roster. Chris Peace, funny thing he said. He goes, Dark Horse Hodgins. You know what? As funny as that might be, he is right. I mean, let's talk about Hodgins for a quick second. Boy, I mean, would it surprise you if he doesn't make this team?
Yeah, it would surprise me. It would kind of upset me because I think the kid's a team player, a gamer. He's done everything they've asked him to do.
Right.
When they called upon him.
Yeah, I mean, you need that possession guy. It would surprise me if he wouldn't make it. What I want to see is get him a little more work in than what he got. Because again, you need that possession receiver. You need that guy that can get open. That guy that's not the burner, but he knows how to get open. He knows how to catch the ball. He's reliable, right? So I think, I'll be interested to see. Like, again, he's not going to be, can he be 1,000-yard receiver? Probably not. But if he can get, red zone target, third down conversion, he could be like what Steve Smith used to be for the Giants, right? Sure. Like that's that type of guy to me. Because you got all those burners on the outside and going deep. You got that guy underneath. I think he's a good one.
Yeah, you just want to see enough snaps out of him. That's the only problem.
And that's what I was going to say, Truth. The concern is with the receiving core not being great last year, he didn't find his way to the field a lot of times, and that's concerning. Yeah. Now you have a unit that's actually is going to be better, at least on paper. It looks that way, and you're concerned. Wow, is he going to even have a tougher time of seeing the field? But
what do you guys think about Allen Robinson? Jay brings it up in the comments. You think he's got anything left in the tank?
I mean, I think he's going to give that veteran leadership. You got a lot of young receivers. Robinson's been very productive in this league. You know, last couple of years, no. But then again, look what he was coming through with Pittsburgh, right? He had Kenny Pickett as his quarterback, you know, and dealing with all that stuff going over there. So you had guys that weren't as productive. So do I think he's going to be a huge producer? No, but maybe it could be like a Richie James production and help develop those young receivers of knowing what to do, what it means to be a professional, what it means to get open, what it means to set up DBs. Like you already saw pictures out there of him working with neighbors. So again, can he be a guy that can get possession? Can a guy get a few hundred yards, 500, 600 yards, a few touchdowns here and there? Possibly. You don't know. But most of all, because right now I know people say Darius Slayton is the vet on the team, but you need a guy that can teach these receivers something. And this is not a knock on Slayton. He's not that guy that can teach those young guys what they need to be taught like an Allen Robinson can.
Yeah. And his blocking downfield is really good as well with him. But even when you look at the roster, you can see the difference. I mean, when you have a Malik Neighbors and you have we don't know what's going on with Slayton. That we think he's still going to be on the roster. But going back to when you have Allen Robinson, obviously you have Wandell, and Hodgins, you just feel like the depth's getting better every year at that spot. So the guys down the line, in that third receiver spot, whether it's the X or the Y or Z, they just feel like there is a little bit more depth and the competition's heating up a little bit better.
And they got to play. And you got to play Hyatt. You got to give him snaps. You got to let him fail. You can't just baby feed him a little bit like they did last year. Give him more snaps. Let him play.
Last year, in talking about Hyatt, and tell me, Sean, did you hear this as well? I see some tape, but I'm not locked in on Hyatt all the time. Strength-wise, some people said that maybe he has a hard time getting off press coverage, and that was a problem. But then the flip side is the quarterbacks, whoever it was, didn't have much time to look downfield, and by the time he was able to go 30 yards down, the quarterback was in trouble. They're running out of the pocket, and they're looking other places to dump it. So your feeling on Hyatt? Did you happen to hear about press coverage and him has to be a little bit stronger and work on getting off that man-to-man press?
I didn't hear that, but I thought he got open a good amount. I thought he did really well. Again, he's a rookie. He came in with maybe not having the best route tree. Not that he was bad at it, but compared to others, right? But I thought he did get open a lot. But I also was how they used them. Like he was a deep threat because they didn't have anybody else with speed, other than Slayton. But you knew he was the guy that was going to run deep, clear out and all that. So I personally, I think this year it's going to be Hyatt, Robinson, and Neighbors. You're going to get the majority of the snaps. Like that's my feeling. Whether or not that happens, I don't know, but I think that's what will happen because they all offset each other and do some good things. And then if they go four wides, then you bring in Slayton or whoever else, right? If he's still there. But yeah, I think that he's working hard in the offseason. You see he's working on his routes. He's committed to doing that. So I'll be curious to see, what they do. And again, you got to have time for a guy like that. Like it takes a while for, deep routes to get open. And that's what he was running, right? Like you're normally seeing him open, like after the quarterback's getting hit. There are times that's not the case, but a good majority was he's open after the QB doesn't have time to throw whoever the QB is.
That's right.
Yeah. And what's going to be interesting with Neighbors, even as a rookie, garnering that attention early in the season, almost like you're not knowing what to expect from Neighbors, and may be able. Obviously, it's going to free up Jalen Hyatt a bit, right? I would think right off the bat,
and
Neighbors being such a top pick, he's going to garner that attention right off the bat.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because they'll probably double him. I know he's a rookie, but he'll get doubled, which leaves the other guys open, right? You now have weapons that the defense have to respect. Like you have three guys, in my opinion, that the defense has to respect now.
Yeah.
And we don't know tight end. Like that's going to open some things like Bellinger and Theo Johnson. Like those guys can open up the receivers. The receivers can open up those guys too. And again, if those guys get open underneath and the defense starts taking them away, then you go over the top to Neighbors and Hyatt and all those guys, right? Like, so going back to your point, Chris, of like the depth, that the saying's true. You're only as strong as your weakest link. Well, now our weakest links are stronger than they were the last couple of years. So it's never a bad thing to have that much depth because we've been lacking for a number of years.
Yeah, not depth meaning talent. Yeah, do you think they're keeping 7 wide receivers or less or more? What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Sean.
I think 7. Didn't they keep 7 last year, if I'm not
I thought they
mistaken?
did. I thought they kept
Yeah,
Yeah,
seven.
that's
because
the number I'm going with. Usually it's 7 they keep.
yeah, they like their wide receivers, and usually their receivers are going to play special teams too, so they carry a little bit more. So I think they'll carry 7 again. That's my opinion.
Yeah, and if you count Gunner, which is really your returner, they have about 14 on the roster right now. So
Yeah,
some of those guys, like a Miles Boykin, who knows? I mean, maybe he shines, but he's been bounced around a little bit. I wouldn't expect much, but injuries happen. Who knows if he's, he could be that guy that pops out on in preseason.
and if nothing else, you got legit competition now for guys, right? And they're going to push each other, going to make each other better. So whoever comes out of it, you can feel good that they've earned it because they're going against guys that are going to make them compete. Like it's been a while since, and you guys can speak to this too. It's been a while since I can remember having this sort of depth and this amount of competition to really be able to push guys and see what they can do.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you probably have to go way back. We talk about Odell being the last real true number one. You probably have to go back when Sterling Shepard was, there in his prime, right? We're going
Yeah,
back a while,
yeah,
obviously. But Sean, I know you wanted to touch upon the running back situation.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting because when you look at what running back 2 is, and I know there was an article out there that talked about Dante Miller, Turbo, and great point piece about Singletary catching out of the backfield, right? Which ties into what I'm just about to about as well. Like you look at the guys that now can do more things and the running back position. Tracy, the draft pick, can catch the ball out of the backfield, right? Dante Miller can catch the ball out of the backfield. I mean, Tracy played receiver in college as well. So he adds another dimension that's there. So I think Eric Gray is going to get leapt by those 2 guys. And I think one of those 2 guys is going to be RB2. It may be a 3-headed monster like it was back in the day with, Ward, Jacobs, and Bradshaw, right? Because you got guys. I think this offense is going to be opened up a lot more from the running back position now because of not having Barkley. Like it's going to change a lot of things. Defenses aren't going to stack the box with 8 men, which is also going to open up the passing game because the blitzing is not going to, it's going to be different, right? When you got everybody line of scrimmage, it's easy to blitz with 8 guys in the box, right? So I think not having Barkley is a blessing in disguise.
How about you, Truth? Anything with the running back?
well, no, I mean I like that they got more athletic overall as a committee. When you look at Singletary, you look at the kid Tracy and Dante Miller, those guys are very athletic and they're quick. And I know he didn't do much last year, but don't discount Eric Gray at all in this group because I think he was a rookie last year. Um, I think he'll have a good camp. I'm looking for him to have a good camp, but I still see this as a primary committee, running back committee here, and I honestly think Gary Brightwell's the odd man out of these guys.
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think Tracy and Miller, to me, add more value to the team of what they can do, how explosive they are. So,
Yeah.
and they're going to keep the four. I would say 4 backs, right? You think 4?
I don't know. I'm thinking could
think
be
maybe 3 only?
What do you think, Sean?
Did they do what did they do last year? Did they do 3 last year, or did they have 4? They'll probably stash somebody on the practice squad, I would imagine.
Gray, Brightwell, Barkley was last year, and
Burita. So they had
Breida
4.
was
Yeah,
was
4. Okay.
So they have 4. So go with 4.
And
So,
right
yeah,
now
it'll
they
be-
have 3, 4. Right now they got 6 on the roster.
Who's the 6?
6, you're going to have Dante Miller or Corbin, which could end up on the practice squad with
He
Miller.
was on there last year too.
Yeah, and then they brought him back and forth. So, which you look at Dable and Shane when they came up from Buffalo. They value the running back position to a point, but they want those guys to catch out of the backfield. They want them to go in the routes. So that's why I feel like with you, Truth, I think Brightwell could be the odd man out, although good special teamer, good in pass protection. But these other guys seem to be guys like Tracy, former receiver, can come out of the backfield. And if Singletary were to get nicked up, you put Tracy in and he could do the same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think where Gray struggles compared to the other guys is he's not explosive. He's shifty, but as
Shifty.
a rookie, we didn't see that shiftiness. So maybe he turns into a short yard guy, maybe something like that. They utilize him. I don't think he showed enough for what Daboll wants in his offense. Like they thought maybe he was going to do better. He could surprise us. He could come out and do some things. But Chris, I do want to touch upon something if we can, and all of us can touch upon this. And
Sure.
Crypto put this up, Jay Ferris, where he says the New York Giants are watching Sanford and Son. It's the same thing over and over. So here's what I'm going to say. This is my Joker moment. Okay. So we get lumped in with all this bad coaching that's gone on for 6 years in a row, right? So it's easy to say it's the same thing over and over again. But here's my Joker take. I see the vision. Daboll is not the same kind of coach as a McAdoo or a Shermer or a Judge. He's far better. He's far more intelligent. He's better with the players. He does all those things. I see what Shane and Daboll are doing with building this roster. So what I'm saying is, guys, we got to let go of what happened prior to the Shane and Daboll era, because I see the vision. You see what they're building. You see the players they're bringing in. You see how they're leveling out the roster and adding to the depth. Like there's things that they're showing. And again, I've said this on multiple occasions. How many coaches last year with all the shit that went on would have gotten this team to 6 wins last year, right? Like imagine if we had Judge and Shermer still. You think we would have won 6 games last year?
No.
So there, to me, again, and you guys can comment too, you got to see that there's a huge difference between what these two guys are doing in these 3 years compared to McAdoo, Shermer, and Judge. I just don't know how people don't see it's a different thing.
I think what happened, Sean, and jump in, Truth, I think we've just been so beaten up and conditioned that, the sky's falling, that we expect the worst. And
Right.
it doesn't help when this team gets off to 1-5 starts, 1-6 starts, and we look forward to the season. We want to enjoy the summer, right? But we always have an eye on the calendar, and we're training camp, and as soon as we get out of the blocks, everything caves in, and it's frustrating. I know the fans feel this way. I feel this way, but is that part of it, guys? That we are just so conditioned in the beginning of the season to start 1-5, other than a couple of years ago when Daboll's
when you
first
lose
year.
a lot, you expect to lose. You don't expect to get
Right.
the breaks. You don't have a positive outlook, And I know the players say and think they're going to win when they go out there and play and compete. But when times go bad in a game and it's crucial, when you lose a lot of games, you don't expect to get the breaks. It's just how it is. In high school, I played on both halves. I played on a horrible team my junior year.
Yeah, me too.
And then for some reason, my senior year, we were phenomenal. We only lost 1 game.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what the difference was. It was just that we started winning and then we believed in ourselves. But I think that's the thing, though. I think this team, like you said, Chris, way back in the beginning of the show, winning, getting those first games out of the way, I think it's going to be very important for them with the win. I think, beating Vikings and the Commanders, I think that's crucial for them.
Yeah, just how the Dallas game started out so poorly for us and kind of put the team in a tailspin from that point on. Maybe the flip side can happen with the win on opening day and just set the tone for the rest of the season. Not that one game will make up for 16 down the, coming down the line, but at least it sets the tone for game 2 going to Cleveland.
Yeah,
But
that was a worst. That was a horrible loss last year, Dallas, in decades of Giants football. I can tell you that was horrible.
Well, and what people forget is that first drive they went down the field on Dallas, right?
Yeah, they did. They ran the ball.
The problem is the O-line, once Andrew Thomas went down, the O-line went to shit. Like that's really what it was. And that's why the additions we brought in this year should be better, where if we lose an Andrew Thomas, it's not going to be as bad. I mean, granted, it's going to be bad like anybody loses, a tackle like that. But people forget that, again, they went down the field easily on, and going back to the point I said before, it was the play calling when they got into the red zone that really messed it up, where they should have had a touchdown on that drive, should have never been in field goal try or anything like that. Like they just lost the field because they had to stick with their scripted plays, right? So I think for me that I'm just going to put out there is, I get accused of being optimistic or whatever going into the season, but when Shermer was hired, I was not happy about that hire. I did not expect big things, right?
Mm-hmm.
McAdoo, I didn't like that hire. He did well his first year, but you knew that guy was a clown, right? Judge, I was not excited about that hire, but I gave it a shot. I actually was excited about the Daboll hire because he proved what he could do. He's shown what he could do as an offensive coordinator. Like, it'd been a while. Like Shermer, we knew guy couldn't do anything as a head coach. He was only as an OC, right? So I'm not this Mr. Positive all the time. I see it's a huge difference between a guy like Shermer and Judge, because those guys, I was not happy when those guys were hired. So that's it. I'm off my joke.
No, it's all good, Sean. Hey, Mark, thanks for jumping in late. All good, man. You're one of the regulars, so thanks. Anything to go off of that truth, what Sean just said?
No, listen,
what's
past is past. You know, I'm not going to look back anymore. It is what it is. I always say it all the time. That's like my favorite saying when I hear it at work. It is what it is. And let's move on. You know, the year 3 with Daboll and Shane, you know, the roster does look better to me. Of course, they got to perform on the field, but I do see more talent, more athletic players on this roster from years past. So they just have to perform. That's pretty simple.
And you know what? I don't want to make the comparison because we beat up on Daniel Jones all the time. But when Jeremy Shockey, who was awesome when he was playing, got hurt, and then Kevin Boss came in, you almost saw a relaxed Eli. I almost feel, I think you might have touched upon that before, Sean, with maybe the offense plays better. I almost feel like the force feeding doesn't have to happen now with the Singletary, where maybe that helps Jones, you know, especially out of the backfield. Singletary is pretty good. But now it's not like, oh, he needs his touches. We need to, you know, keep feeding him. And that's what Barkley does. He's a home run hitter, and he'll lose a couple yards. But I almost feel like you said, Sean, this could actually, despite all the, oh my God, Barkley's gone, this is terrible, it might actually help the offense to actually open things up and spread things around and be a little less predictable, right?
Yeah. And again, like, you know, now they have legit weapons that D coordinators have to game plan against. Before, it was just Barkley. That's all you had to worry about. And it was evident because you saw how they stacked up the line of scrimmage, right? And then, you know, it's going to be interesting to see now what they do. Again, I wanted Barkley to stay. I was on record saying I wanted him to stay, right? But again, when you look at it, I think it's good. I'm going to say this quick too. You guys are going to see a different Joker when it's in season, because in season Joker, when losses happen, I'm not Mr. Positive. I will criticize and critique every person that's out there. So
who does that sound
like? All you heads up.
Who does that sound like?
Oh, is that how Craig is?
But that's great, Sean, because
it's fun to watch.
Keep it objective. We keep it real, right?
Yeah.
We love our team, but we got to keep it real too. We can't wave the pom-poms all the time. But at this point, you know, before the season, there's optimism, right? There's optimism. We're believing in what we're seeing. We want to trust that things are going to happen the right way. But once like they say, the bullets go flying, then reality is going to set in, and we're really going to see what we're going to speak our mind at that point.
I just want to see effort. I want to see them show effort. They didn't do that in the beginning last year, and I made comments about that. Then they started showing effort. You know, I don't want to see a guy jogging after a runner who gets by him. I want to see a guy bust his butt and play to the whistle. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
It's not hard to do. I mean, just do it.
Yep. Yeah. And you want to see it, and I don't want to see him get blown out by Dallas anymore, right? If we make it a closer game versus Dallas, then we've seen progress. Like, that's
pride. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That's a big thing there. And again, to your point, Chris, like, the offseason, isn't that what it's about? Optimism. You bring in new players, you sign free agents, you draft guys. Like, you should be optimistic. If you can't look at this draft class and see some optimism, then there's not much you're going to be optimistic about ever, right? Like, to me, that's the point of the offseason. So I'm excited. You got new guys to be looking forward to. I mean, how can you not be excited about Malik Neighbors and what he could potentially do here, right? Like,
how long has it been?
Yeah. Right. And again, they may come out and suck. And if they come out and suck this year, you'll see how negative and how much I get on the organization and the coaching and the players and all that when they lose or play like crap. So
I will say, and a good Mark Thompson, great point. Tiki left after 2006. What happened the next year? Not saying the Giants are about to win the Super Bowl, but maybe that took a little pressure off.
Well, it didn't hurt having Jacobs and Bradshaw.
That's right. That's right. We always wish Tiki would have stuck around for one more year, but
I think that's the year they drafted Bradshaw, right? In 2007, didn't they?
Yeah.
Seventh round.
He was
Bradshaw.
Great draft. draft. But God forbid. Yeah, go ahead, Truth.
No, what about if you guys, I don't know if you can stay on topic here, but
No.
What about they had that thing we talked about last week about the grace plays in Giants history.
Mhm.
You guys have any others that you could think of that when you think about New York Giants history, a great play that pops up in your mind?
Go ahead, Sean.
I mean, the one, I mentioned what I mentioned last week, but for me, I'm going to say that Mark Ingram catch in the Super Bowl, like that's a huge one. They don't win that game if he doesn't make that third down and 12, right? Like that's a huge one. And another one when you go back, is the Bobby Johnson catch against Minnesota on fourth down that set him up to the field goal. Like that really carried the momentum for the Giants that year. Like they were a different team after that time. So to me, those are the two plays that, I'll be interested to see how far they go in this bracket.
Mm-hmm.
When they do that. Cause again, that Ingram catch, man, that was huge. The amount of tackles he broke and
the little spin he did. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And that little jump, right? That little extra
that.
little.
Go back and play that. You see, I think there was one play. I can't remember who it was that missed him 3 times. He tried to tackle.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was. It was a safety. I think it might have been Tasker, if I'm thinking the right guy. It was hilarious. It was hilarious how he
Mark Kelso.
Mark Kelso. Mark Kelso.
It was Kelso.
Yeah.
Wow. And again, just the moment. It was in the Super Bowl, third down and 12 in the Super Bowl. Like that's a big play. That to me, that's a play that gets very underrated and forgot about a lot. And it's a huge play in that game.
Was it, Shawnee, maybe Christian, was that the first drive in the second half? Was that during that drive he made that, or was that later?
I think it was second half because Baker ended the first half with the touchdown, right? So I think it was the second, right?
Yeah.
I want to say could have been
they scored a touchdown in the end of the first half, 9 minutes. Then the second half, they had a 9-minute possession, did the same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it was like later in the third quarter, if I'm not mistaken, because it was they were going the same way that the Bills were going when they missed the field goal in the fourth quarter. So I do believe it was the third quarter.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a play, and this just popped in my head. I don't know if it's on the list, probably not, but the way Jeff Hostetler held onto that ball when he was getting sacked in the end zone.
Bruce Smith, yeah. How did he hold on to that?
Even though it didn't mean much in terms of points.
That's a
great
safety.
play.
That's a safety.
Could have been a touchdown. Fumbles that ball. Could have been a touchdown.
That's 5-point swing right there. They probably don't win the Super Bowl if he doesn't hang on to that.
Yeah.
Well, I got to play. And this is when the Giants were playing in San Francisco. The Mark Bavaro catch. I guess you guys all know what that
is.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. When he carried Ronnie Lott and then about 5 other guys, 15+ yards down the field. And you can see Ronnie Lott was getting pissed off because he couldn't bring him down. Yep. And that's a game they came back. They were trailing 17-0. They won 21-17 that game. So who knows how much that play made a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Man, I'd love to have a tight end like that again. Like just a good tight end again, right? Like somebody. Whether it's Waller if he comes back, or if it's Theo Johnson or Bellinger, like
bring back the steam pass.
Yeah,
well, you know what? And truth, part of the problem is these guys got to stay in and help out on that right side. So if whether it's Illumina or Neal, if we can get some semblance of some blocking, maybe these guys could do their thing. Especially Bellinger. We just saw so much potential, and he still has it. I don't blame him 100% at all. Hardly.
He's a very reliable receiver.
Hasn't been able to do what they want him to do last year because of the blocking situation.
And speaking of those O-line guys, they put out today, I think Runyon was at right guard and Illuminor was at left guard. So it's interesting to me because Runyon is more the veteran next to Neal, could be a huge impact for Neal at right tackle, right? So that may be part of their thinking as well, is, putting him there to really help out Neal, where Illuminor, you just let him be who he needs to be. Like, let him be that lineman and not have to worry about helping out Neal, where Runyon can really help develop Neal as well. Like,
there you go.
And hopefully
see what they do.
Yeah.
And I know it's just OTA. So, but if that's how they lined him up to start with, just a take that I thought that I had.
It's all we have right now to go off of. So yeah, I'm with you, man. That's all we have right now.
He does better than Kowinski did. Kowinski really struggled for some reason, come to the Giants. So
he did.
Hopefully he doesn't.
Well, let's hope that let's hope the new coach makes an impact. I'm going to keep saying that, right? Like, some of these guys that came and didn't do much, I think a lot had to do with coaching. But
Yeah, and I know we're coming up on time, but what's interesting, talk about the coach. You know, when Bobby Johnson came here, you heard all Buffalo fans say, "Oh, good, take him." Nobody liked him. Now, we didn't know much about him, but all you've heard about Brasillo, the Raider fans and some of the Raider writers, "Oh, you got a great guy. He's a teacher, just what we're looking for." So you kind of heard the opposite now, which is great. You're not hearing any negative stuff about Brasillo. So I'm taking that, pretty well with a grain of salt, though. But
there were some Raider fans that weren't happy. I know that. I've seen that. You're right.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear because I really think that's vital for the Giants. Get that offensive line going.
Some continuity and stop a revolving door at offensive, offensive line coach. Yeah. But guys, it's 9:02. Anything else before we head out and call it a night? Truth, Sean, anything you want to?
No, I got nothing. Just waiting for the training camp to start and to see how these guys compete. That's it.
Yeah,
Sean. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah, no, I think I covered a lot. I talked a lot, so
that's what we do, man. That's why we're here. Hey, we want to thank everybody for stopping in tonight. We know we got some new faces, some new names. So join us every Monday night at 8:00 next week because of Memorial Day. We'll be on Tuesday. That's what Craig said. So we'll pivot to Tuesday, and we'll see you right here at 8:00 on Tuesday. Once again, enjoy your Memorial Day. Let's give honor to all those men and women that gave their lives to the country. So remember that while we're all knocking back some beers and some drinks, and let's do a toast. All right. So unless there's anything else, no, you guys are good.
Well, one thing I'll add, cause I know Craig always says this. So guys, tell your friends, hit the subscribe on YouTube, get more of those things going. Tell everybody really appreciate your guys' support, and let's just get it. Like I said, tell your friends, get them going, have them subscribe to the YouTube channel. We appreciate it. We love you guys.
I can't top that, man. Sean said it. He nailed
a little tear right there. That was good.
All right, everybody. We'll catch you next Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your week.
See you guys.
See you later.
See ya. Peace.